more than 2,000 miles all the way.
I was discovered by Ella Fitzgerald's piano player, Paul Smith. And when he heard my voice, which was rather serendipity, I asked him if I could get his wife to tell me more about whether or not I had a voice that I could use, because I was thinking of going into retirement and I wanted to know what I could do to use with my time. And I thought maybe I could be in a church choir. And I never had had a music lesson. I never had any training whatsoever, and I didn't know if it was worthwhile for me to try that, as opposed to gardening club or learning how to play bridge. So he heard my voice along with his wife eventually, and they said, get on stage, you have what it takes. So they said to me, you're unique, and because of that, no one sounds like you, you might have a chance, and we think you will. So I took that, and I decided to, at one point, I had a show, and Paul Smith played at my show. And people said after the show was over, where's your CD? And I said, what CD? And so I said, I guess I better make one. So Paul Smith helped me. Unfortunately, when we got to the mixing stage, he passed away suddenly. So I was kind of left, but he had heard the mixes and thought they were great. So from there, I took the album. I had another recording engineer named Tommy Vicari record my Lost in Romance album. And then I had Al Schmidt, that is Diana Krall's engineer to mix it. And he also does Bublé and Dylan and Paul McCartney. So he agreed to do my mixing. And from that, then I had to get it mastered. When I had been speaking to people about the best mastering person in Hollywood, Bernie Grundman's name came up. So then I went to go see Bernie Grundman. And when I had Bernie Grundman with me in his studio, and he was listening to the album, he looked at me, turned around, and looked at me, and said, hey, have you ever thought about putting this out in vinyl? And I said, what's vinyl? Isn't that old passé? And he said, no more. And at that time, it really hadn't clicked as much. There were advocates of it, but not as many as there are today. So it was 2013. And from there, we sort of just, I folded into what he said I should do. I said, I'll find the money, I'll get it done. Tell me what to do. And he told me, go to the audiophile shows. If they like Diana Krall, they will love you. So don't worry about that part, just worry about your quality. So I, from then on, adopted his method, and I went to shows, and I noticed how important the quality was. My first album was a digitally recorded album. And I realized after that that analog is the key to doing exceptional work. So I did my second album, 2-inch, 24-track, pure analog album. It was done like it was done in the 50s because that album was dedicated to the 1950s. So I didn't use 24-inch tape again on any of my other albums. I went down in size on it, and I did 1/2-inch, but 30 IPS still, and the mix was down to that. And now I'm doing 1/4-inch 30 IPS because some engineers believe it sounds better and you get a better product from it. So I'm believing that true as well. There are a lot of people who disagree with that, and a lot of them are overseas in the European sector, but it's all a matter of personal taste. And at the end of the day, it doesn't cost me less to use 1/4-inch than it does 1/2-inch. It's just a personal choice on what I think sounds good. So that's how I got into the audiophile world. And then I got hooked on it because my dad, my stepfather, was an audiophile. And when he married my mother, I was 12. And he had a very good job and made very much money, and he spent it on a lot of things, and audio was one of them. And I could play the records that he had, the vinyl. I couldn't buy Pink Floyd or Beatles. That wouldn't be allowed in the house. But we had Sinatra and Julie Garland and things like that, and Streisand, that was okay. And we played those. So I learned to use his system, and I learned to respect what he had. When I saw the red vinyl, I did it for love of a new dress. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. And then when I put it out there, then people said, why are you putting red out? That's not a good sounding. And I went, really? Because it sure sounded good to me. And so I took that as a challenge. So then I decided to do this challenge LP on black. So if I were to press that album again on another edition of it, the first one will be red, but everything after will be black. I just received, in April, I got Jazz Vocalist of the Year from the Los Angeles largest jazz station, which is pretty much the largest jazz station in the US, K-Jazz. And it was the programmer for that station that gave me the award. His name is Saul Levine. So that's a really big coup because it means that my work is being recognized outside of the audiophile world. My sales are continuing to escalate. I'm now being picked up by different audio shows to perform. And I'm becoming the star of some of the shows. And I just think the quality, sticking to your guns is an expression when I was growing up, one of my teachers said to me, and I've stuck to my guns on quality. So if my name's on it, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be in the quality arena. I just finished doing a video. I've never done a Blu-ray. I'm learning more stuff. I am really sound now in the studio. I got it. But when it comes to performing and having something to, a keepsake of my performances, to me it has to have great audio. And most Blu-rays aren't accelerating in the audio the way I want mine to be. So I had Alan Sides record it at Capitol in Studio A. I had a videographer and we're creating the actual video on a Blu-ray. We're going to be at 1080, we'll be at 4K if we do it right. We're going to have 5.1 surround sound as well as stereo options for people who want to listen to it. And even the stereo is going to be sound great. But the 5.1 is unbelievable. So that's where I'm at on that. I will try something new to continue growing. I did a direct-to-disc because I'd never done one before. And I took a big risk. Probably, had I known what I was really doing, would I do it again? I would do direct-to-discs again, but my eyes would be much, much more open. Much. It's a really risky deal. And anybody who has done them should be applauded. Especially, I'm one of 5 artists that have done, as a singer, right, more than 3 songs or more, 12 or more minutes, with just a little bit of time not singing where the musicians do their own solo work. I have 7 albums out right now, and I have put them out since 14 really. So you consider in 5 years, 7 albums. And I continue to use incredible people. On my latest direct-to-disc, I'm bringing in Latinos. So I have had Luis Conte before from Cuba, but now I brought in Aaron Safarti on drums on my London project, as well as percussion. And then I also have Otmaro Ruiz, and he's playing the piano. What a terrific guy. He's like the Latin version of a Mike Garson. Yeah, so I continue to use great musicians on all of my stuff. When we got into doing the Blu-ray, I brought Mike Lang in, who was very, he's on side D of my direct-to-disc, but he was also the one on my Lost in Romance, my first album. He's the one that played for me on Fever, one of my very popular songs that's out there. So it was good to have him, but it was really funny for me on the Blu-ray. We're going to show it. I hope it shows up on it, but Mike got into, we did You Never Can Tell, that song, and Mike was playing the piano on it, and he started singing along with me on the Blu-ray. And I laughed at the end of the gig, at the end of the song, I was laughing. He said, well, we got Mike as a backup singer now. So, again, there's a lot of fun things about that Blu-ray. I was having fun. It was a small group, intimate. There were people there that had never seen me before and wrote me notes afterwards saying it was the best thing they'd ever seen. So that's kind of important. And so to know that I'm trying even blazing new trails on sound as well. That's where I'm hoping people realize I'm doing the best I can.